Gather around, my little dinosaurs, and I'll tell you a story about the Sword of Damocles. If I can get this thing to come back on. Damocles is a character who appears in a likely apocryphal anecdotal comedy commonly referred to as the Sword of Damocles. It's an allusion to the imminent and ever-present peril faced by those in positions of power. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm going to relate this story to the way things have been going. Damocles was a courtier in the court of Dionysus II of Syracuse, a 4th century BC ruler of Syracuse, Italy. And here's the story. According to the story, Damocles was pandering to his king, Dionysus, exclaiming that Dionysus was truly fortunate as a great man of power and authority without peers, surrounded by magnificence. In response, Dionysus offered to switch places with Damocles for one day so that Damocles could taste the very fortune firsthand. Damocles quickly and eagerly accepted the king's proposal. He sat on the king's throne, surrounded by countless luxuries. There were beautiful embroidered rugs, fragrant perfumes, and the most select foods, piles of silver and gold, the service of attendants unparalleled in their beauty surrounding Damocles, with riches and excess. But Dionysus, who made many enemies during his reign, had arranged that a sword should hang above the throne, held at the pommel only by a single hair of a horse's tail, to evoke the sense of what it's like to be king. Although having much fortune and always having to watch in fear and anxiety against dangers that might try to overtake him, Damocles finally begged the king that he be allowed to depart because he no longer wanted to be so fortunate, realizing that with great power comes great responsibility. He effectively conveyed the sense of constant fear with a person with great power may live. Dionysus committed many cruelties in his rise to power, such that he could never go on to rule justly because that would make him vulnerable to his enemies. Cicero used this story as a last in a series contrasting the examples for reaching the conclusion in his 5th disputation, which the theme is that having virtue is sufficient for living a happy life. So, what I was bringing this up for, kind of like a ramble, I was thinking about it, is ever since the pandemic that hit the world, there's been this like sword hanging over everybody's heads. Like, you never know when it's going to fall down and stab you. You know, it's just hanging there. By the slightest little bit, anything can set it off. And after struggling through all that, what comes after, right after that? What comes after before that's even completely open? Another Sword of Damocles, like a threat of global thermonuclear war or something like that, you know? I mean, and then on top of that is another sword of food shortages and global warming, and, you know, you just keep adding it up. Political corruption, incompetence on a huge, massive scale. And then, this is just my thoughts, but I think that what has happened is the rich and powerful have had it so rich and powerful. They're surrounded by their luxuries and everything, and they thought, what can we do to mess with the rest of humanity? What can we do to make them feel like we feel like there's a sword hanging over our head? Hey, why don't we just instigate something? Now, I'm not saying necessarily that all this stuff happened because of a group of people, but a bunch of them certainly knew how to take advantage of it. There's, you know, a saying, don't let a good war or a pandemic go to waste. You know, there's always an opportunity to make money off of other people's misery. And I just think that's wrong, you know. And then also during that time we had a lot of people that couldn't tell the truth. I mean, there were so many people lying constantly lying that the powers that be or whatever, whoever decided, you know what? For social media, we just can't have an open discourse anymore. We're just going to only allow one side of the narrative to go along. And this could apply to the pandemic or politics or anything else. It's once a platform gets in power and decides that it's going to push or promote an agenda, be it its CEO or whatever that's running the platform, all of a sudden you can't voice your opinion. And when you say, hey, this is against freedom of speech, they say, hey, we're a private entity. We can do anything we want. Freedom of speech only applies to the government restricting your ability to speak. We're not the government. But large corporations a lot of times are effectively the government. I mean, they get what they want. The politicians, if 95% of the population thinks that a certain thing should pass, and it's against a certain corporate interest, and they have the pockets of a politician, guess what never gets passed? Something that the 95% of the people wanted. Why? Not because of the people want it, it's because of corruption. Corruption is, I think that they really should, there was recently there was a thing about politicians in America shouldn't be able to own stocks. Well, no shit, because the politicians say, hey, we're Americans, we should be able to participate in this just like anybody else. Yeah, but you get inside information. Like before the pandemic, all of a sudden, a lot of people were stocking up on PEPE and buying into biotech firms and stuff like that because they knew what was coming down. All you have to do is like, wow, this is going to hit this, and this. When this thing comes in, and we already know what the policies are because we make policies or we talk to the people that make policies. So we know a lockdown's coming down. What's going to be profitable? Invest in these stocks, and that all of this is legal if you know what you're doing, but inside trader information is not legal. And so, yeah, when you step in and you are a representative of our country, or your particular area, whatever, you're an American citizen, but you're in a position of making policy and changing policy, and so therefore there should be some things that would prevent like conflict of interest. Like if it's in your financial best interest if you do option X, but it's in the country's best interest if you do option Y. Option X is always going to win. They're going to spin it around like, once they get this better planned out, we'll implement option Y. But right now, we need to stick with giving the corporations a ton of money, keeping rich people super rich. And that's the thing. It's all right to get a little bit rich when you get in America, but after a certain percent, they should be paying taxes at least more than the average American, You've gained so much money off the country. You've gained so much off of other people's labors and preferential laws and everything else. You should be able to withstand a certain percentage of your wealth being put back into America, Put it back into the general fund of, whatever. And also the politicians have got to learn how to balance the damn budget. Everybody else has to do that. And you can't hold the balanced budget as a sword of Damocles over people like that have Social Security, because we put our money into that our whole life. All right? Now, yeah, if you factor it in and everything else, it'll turn out to more of an entitlement than a benefit, but still, if a person would have taken the amount of money that's been taken out of their taxes and put it in and invested it wisely, this is where Social Security comes in handy because most people won't invest wisely. But if they would have invested wisely, they probably have a lot more money than you're getting out of Social Security in the end. But that's a contract that the government made with you when they started taking money out of your paycheck. Hey, we're taking this out. but it's for a good reason. So that later on, when you retire, you're going to get some of this money back. We won't give it to you in a lump sum, but we'll dole it out for you. And so it's kind of they're acting like you're steward of your money. And you know, in my case, it really helped out because I had a good 401k and everything, but when I got laid off, I started tapping into it to pay household bills and stuff like that. I lived off of it. I didn't know that I could declare, you know, like special circumstances and all that. I did a lot of, you know, incorrect things on finances, basically, that hurt myself. But that was on my own, you know. But it's this sword of Damocles I'm getting tired of. I'm getting tired of as a human being living like this. You've got to worry about bugs, you got to worry about bombs, you got to worry about politicians. Your money might not be good anymore. You might not have any more food. Come on. This is not a life we should live. The situation is such that we're like rats in a cage, and they're just shocking us all the time. And two rats in a cage, what happens, man? They don't know where that shock's coming from, but they see that other guy, and they know, you're the one that's shocking me. And that's what's happening. We're always being distracted by stuff. Oh, look up at the sky, it's a balloon. Oh, the Chinese are doing this. And we're being lied to, you know. We're not being told the truth when we're supposed to be, you know, open. Yeah, some things have to be kept secret, you know. You don't want to divulge everything. But, I don't know, it's just, whenever something happens, if people's interest, you know, starts to wane, something else will pop up. And it used to be before, it was like a minor distraction. No, these are like major now. These are like, you can stick your head in the sand at your own peril type of thing. And like, go ahead, stick your head in the sand. Don't watch the news. Don't follow current events. Don't follow anything else. And when something happens, you're going to be surprised, surprised, surprised. You know? I'm not saying we got to... Everybody copes with what they, you know, how they want to do. I try not to be too involved in current politics and all this other stuff. But I just started thinking about the Sword of Damocles, you know, and I had to look up that story because I remembered it, but I didn't remember that, you know, when you've got a knife hanging over you, I mean, not a knife, a sword, and it's hanging by a thread. It's hanging by just a thread, and it's right over your throne. Well, you know, you can be like, oh, this food's really great. Man, I hope that thing doesn't fall down while I'm eating, you know, because I really enjoy this, or wow, look at all this gold. I'm going to be able to enjoy this. I wish somebody would do something about that sword up there. And it's not like, you know, in this, it's an allegory. So it's not like an actual sword. It's just like more, this is what happens. You know, you see people wish like, oh, I wish I was a rock star. I wish I was famous, rich and famous. Man, if you ever get to be both of those situations, you're not going to like it. You might like being rich and not famous, but you're not going to like being rich and famous because you will have no privacy. Your past is, we've all done things in our past that we're not proud of. Someone will dig up information on your past, either to blackmail you or to make you look bad, you know? And it doesn't matter if you're 75 years old, they dig up something you did when you were 12 years old and bring it out to the public, you know, and that's, you know, and if you go anywhere, everybody's like, oh, look at that person. And you've got friends, you know, like people that are real fans, and then you've got enemies. Enemies you don't even know. They just don't like you because you're famous and rich. So all I'm saying is watch what you wish for on things. And as far as like the Sword of Damocles, we either need to cut that thread and do a little matrix thing where we dip out of the way and let it land, you know, and say, next time, you know, don't tie it up there with a piece of thread, you know, put some cable up there or something. If you've got to have a sword up there, secure it, put it in a sheath. And why we got to put it up there over the top of my throne? Because a lot of times rich people get to the top not because they're rich and powerful, but because they got into the top by stepping over the backs of the little people that put them there, the little people that worked real hard in the factory and did everything. They got cut up, they got their neck broke, they got everything else, and save money. The rich management is not going to take care. They're going to take care of their employees a little bit, but not super good because it's not profitable. Everything comes down to money and profit. And really, you're not going to be able to take that money with you when you die. All right? Yeah, we need a certain amount of money to live. I mean, you've got to have a certain amount of money just to get by, anywhere you're at. Even if you don't have money, you've got to have skills or tools or items, something you would call, equivalent to money, possessions or something. But you can't get by alone in this world without something, like money. And what has always stopped these kings and these powerful people is the people themselves. Eventually, people will rise up against the oppressors, the people that are making us eat bugs and stuff. Oh, we think in our infinite wisdom that in the future you will all have biological implants in your head. No, I won't. I'm not going to have that crap. The only way I'm going to have a biological implant is if if one eye goes blind or whatever, and they give me a robotic eye. Yeah, then, okay, yeah, I'd accept that. I'd accept even a low-resolution eyeball over no eyeball. But that's my choice. It's not like, we think all humans would be better now with bionic eyeballs. Because not only can they see things, we can tap into them and see what they've seen. And then we'll put in bionic ears, too, so we can hear everything. And bionic mouths, see what's going on. It could happen that way if people are complacent enough just to go along with this stuff. But anyway, that's my rant on the Sword of Damocles, is that you don't let this stuff get to you. I mean, it's okay to be concerned about world events, but things that you can't control, you can influence a lot of times. Let's say we can't control wars going on and everything. We do have a voice, and it just one person is just a little voice in all the noise. But if you get enough people saying the same thing and believing it, then it becomes a movement. It becomes more than just one person speaking. It becomes an idea that's hard to stop, and that, especially if that idea is founded in logic and reason and everything. And it's like, look, you can do whatever you want with your wealth. Just don't try to tell me how to live my life. Don't try to become this. Just because you're rich and wealthy, you think that you're the steward of the planet and you can decide global politics. A lot of these unelected positions, like the World Health Organization, they're an unelected body. They're making up stuff that are policy. You can't you can't go against what the World Health Organization says on YouTube. You can't go against what the Center for Disease Control has to say about the virus on YouTube. You can't. You can try, but you're going to get demonetized or a strike, either one. And what is that? That's a way of punishing you for going against the narrative. And the narrative is not always right. The narrative has been wrong for so long. Everything they told us about this virus was wrong at first, and you could not object to it. You couldn't disagree with it. No, you're an anti-vaxxer. You don't believe in this. You're anti-science. All these little labels that go against you. No, I'm just questioning. What the hell are you trying to throw in my body? Oh, it's good for it. It stops this, it stops that. No, it doesn't. That's just a little narrative that they were going with that everybody wanted to believe, but it was untested. Everything was untested. Guess what the test was? You. You're the test. You're the test. You're the guinea pig. Why waste guinea pigs, mice, when we can waste people? Some people think that way. Some people only think about profit. Look how much money we can make off this. And it's wrong. That's what gets me. That's what's really tears my chops, is that in a place like America, that's supposed to be the land of the free, home of the brave, and all this liberty and all this. No, we got mandates and requirements, and you've got to do this, or you can't work at this job anymore. Well, I thought I had a right to my own determination and what, informed consent. Inform me, what the hell, and then I'll give you my consent. But it's not uninformed compliance. It's informed consent. That's what goes on between a patient and their doctor, not between the government. So that's what has bent my chops for a while. I've made many a video like this and deleted it because I knew I could not upload it. I couldn't upload it. But this was before I was monetized. I couldn't upload it because I knew I would get censored. I would get a strike against me. You only get 3 strikes in YouTube, and you're gone. So, yeah, I could find another platform. I could do, other stuff. But to me, it just wasn't worth losing my channel over the outrages that I saw. I figured sooner or later, eventually the truth would come out. And eventually it's starting to ease up. Now you can say that, hey, the vaccine did not stop transmission. It wasn't even tested for that, according to the Pfizer. So before you ding me on this on COVID and everything, YouTube, go ahead and check the history and look. They told us it was safe and effective. I guess all I'm saying is, try not to let this stuff get to you, and the outrage we have. Don't forget how people who questioned all these mandates and stuff were treated. They were treated as pariahs. They were treated as outcasts. They were treated as lunatics. The same can be said of people who originally were spotting UFOs back in the day. If you mentioned it, you were considered a nutcase, no matter what happened. I'm not saying that UFOs are real or not. I'm just saying that's how people are treated. It's the same way. If you go against the narrative, whatever the narrative is by whoever is putting it out, you will be censored and labeled as a pariah, an outcast. Why? Because you're going against their vested interest. There's a reason behind these narratives. And the reason is the people in power, the people that are pushing this, want this lie. It's usually a lie. They want this lie to be perpetuated. Why? Because it makes them money. It keeps them in power. That's why. That's the only reason why. So, there you go. Sorry for ranting so long. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.